The Inner Throne, The Art of Holding Power. Introduction, Power Frequency. Listen to the silence behind my words. That silence is not empty, it is contained tension. It is the same tension that sustains the foundations of an empire. And the one that must sustain your own existence. Welcome to the 6th episode. Today we are not going to talk about how to get there. Let's talk about how not to fall. Most men are experts at snatching. They have bursts of motivation, sparks of audacity that lead them to conquer small hills. But as soon as the air becomes thin, as soon as the weight of the crown starts to press on the temples, they break. They break because their success is bigger than their character. They have built a marble skyscraper on a mud floor. And mud, under pressure, always gives way. Control is not something you exert over others. That is an illusion for the weak who need validation. Real control is a civil war going on inside your skull every second of the day. It is the ability to look your impulses in the face. Your laziness, your lust, your need to be understood. And tell them. Today you have no voice in this council. If you cannot govern the distance between your thought and your action, you are not a leader, you are a symptom of your environment. You are an erratic particle that reacts to heat, cold, or an insult from a stranger. Under the MentorNoriegaIA brand, we understand that sovereignty is immunity. Being immovable does not mean being made of stone. It means that your center of gravity is so dense that nothing external has enough mass to knock you out of your orbit. Block 1, The Anatomy of Self-Control. Control begins in your biology. A man who gasps under pressure has already given up his power. A man whose hands shake before a negotiation has shouted his fear. Your body is the first border of your sovereignty. If you don't control your breathing, you don't control your mind. If you don't control your gaze, you don't control the room. Most men panic in the face of emptiness. They feel the need to fill space with words, with gestures, with noise. That's the sign of the dam. The predator, on the other hand, inhabits silence. Its internal control is so absolute that its mere stillness generates a distortion in the environment. It is the economy of movement. It is knowing that every unnecessary gesture is a drain on energy. It is understanding that power is not demonstrated by shouting. It is proven to be the reference point of calm in the middle of the storm. To sustain power, you must become a seismograph of your own pulse. You must detect the exact moment when the ego tries to take control. The ego is a botched architect, builds shiny facades but rotten foundations. Holding the internal throne requires constant vigilance. A discipline that does not rest even when you sleep. Because the world is waiting for the slightest trace of weakness to claim the space you have conquered. Stay at this frequency. We are going to descend into the basements of your will. We are going to burn what is soft and forge what is eternal. Block 2, The Purge of the Ego, Immunity to Flattery. Most men die of success before they taste glory. They believe that they have arrived because someone has patted them on the shoulder. Flattery is the sweetest and deadliest poison that exists. It is the acid that corrodes the internal density that we built in episode 4. If you allow other people's opinions even if they are positive, have the power to inflate your chest, you have given the keys to your kingdom to a stranger. A sovereign does not thrive on applause, it thrives on results. Flattery is an attempt by the environment to soften you. They want you to let your guard down, to feel comfortable. That you believe that you no longer need to guard your borders. But the wolf knows that comfort is the prelude to extinction. Sustaining power requires a cold indifference to validation. If you get excited when they praise you, you will destroy yourself when they criticize you. They are both two sides of the same slavery coin. The need to be seen. You are not here to be seen, you are here to be felt. Like a change in atmospheric pressure. Like an immovable object that doesn't need anyone to confirm its weight. Internal control is the filter that stops the noise of the world. It is the ability to hear a compliment and have it bounce back against your marble armor without leaving a mark. It is the ability to be insulted and that the insult dissolves in the void of your sovereign indifference. If someone can alter your mood with a phrase, that person is your owner. And at the MentorNoriegaIA brand, we do not accept owners. Block 3, the management of strategic silence. Holding the throne requires absolute discretion. Real power is never fully displayed, it is always suggested. Boasting is the cry of those who fear not being enough. The one who has to say how much he has, who he knows or what he has achieved. He is confessing that his value is external, not internal. He is trying to convince himself through the eyes of others. The wolf does not howl before hunting. Silence is your best conservation tool. The less they know about your intentions, the less surface they have to attack you. The less you reveal of your strength, the heavier your shadow will be when you decide to act. Learn to sit at the table and be the one who talks the least, but the one who observes the most. That is the frequency domain. While the others bleed from their mouths trying to impress, you are mapping its cracks. You're collecting their ammunition, you are holding the space with the fixity of your gaze. Silence is the acid that undoes other people's masks, and the cement that reinforces yours. If you talk too much, you become predictable. If you are predictable, you are manipulable. To hold power is to maintain the mystery of your capacity. May they not know where your patience ends or where your anger begins. May your presence be an enigma that the world has to solve, but that I never managed to fully decipher. Stay there, in the stillness of this knowledge. Let's now move on to the axis solitude phase. Because at the top, the wind blows stronger, and only those who have internal control of steel. They can stand without trembling. Block 4, the loneliness of the axis, the voidance of command. The promotion is a company purge. As your density increases, the air becomes thinner. Most men are not afraid of failure, they fear the loneliness that accompanies success. They desperately look for someone to validate their steps. Someone to tell them that they are doing well, someone who shares the weight of the crown. But real power is a lonely experience. If you need to be understood, you are not ready to command. The need to be understood is a chain that binds you to the level of others. A sovereign under the brand MentorNoriegaIA accepts isolation as the cost of clarity. When you are in the axis of gravity, everyone orbits around you, but no one lives in your center. Learn to love that emptiness. Learn to find comfort in the silence of your own mind. When the outside world is a clamor of demands and doubts, loneliness is not lack, it is filtered. It is the space necessary so that your vision is not contaminated with the mediocrity of others. If you let too many people get close to your core, their anxieties will begin to vibrate on your frequency. You will start to decide based on their fear, not your strategy. Holding power is knowing how to draw a line of fire between you and the rest of the world. A line that no one can cross without your express permission. Block 5, anti-fragility in the face of chaos. Internal control is not tested in calm. is tested at the epicenter of the disaster. When markets fall, when loyalties break, when the noise of the crisis is deafening, this is where the architect of his own sovereignty demonstrates his value. Most people enter a state of biological reactivity. His pupils dilate, his breathing becomes labored, his decisions become erratic. They become dry leaves blown by the wind of panic. You, on the other hand, are going to practice tactical immobility. The faster the chaos moves outside, the slower you must move inside. Chaos is a test of your axis of gravity. If the world shakes and you remain static, the world will end up holding on to you so as not to fall. That is the paradox of dominance. By not reacting to general fear, you become the owner of general fear. Don't fight chaos, inhabit it. Use it as a smokescreen for your moves. While others are blinded by urgency and drama, you are mapping the new opportunities that disorder always reveals. The scarcity of others is your abundance of position. Their loss of control is your gain of territory. Sustaining power requires icy faith in your own operating system. A certainty that does not depend on the news, nor on graphics, nor on opinions. It is a more fatty taken to the extreme. Love the fire because you know that you are the only one who knows how to walk through the flames without getting burned. Your internal control is the extinguisher of mass hysteria. Block 6. The economy of attention. Your attention is the most valuable resource of your empire. And it is the one they will try to steal from you the most. Every notification, every foreign drama, every stupid trend. It is an attempt to hack your frequency domain. A man who does not control where he looks does not control where he goes. Most live in a state of perpetual distraction. They are slaves to cheap dopamine and white noise. Their energy is dispersed in 1,000 directions, which makes them weak and superficial. Holding the throne requires laser beam focus. It is the ability to say no to the good in order to say yes to the legendary. Shield your time. Shield your gaze. Don't give away even a second of your mental processing to things that don't build your throne. The discipline of attention is the purest form of internal control. If you dominate your focus, you dominate your reality. Because what you focus on expands. And what you ignore dies for lack of food. Learn to be ruthless with distractions. Treat them as invaders in your sovereign territory. If it doesn't serve your mission, it's noise. And the noise must be silenced so that the music of your performance can be heard. Block 7. The transmutation of pain into authority. Pain is a sign, not a destination. Most men flee from suffering as if it were a curse. They seek relief, anesthesia, consolation in empty words or cheap vices. That is the crack through which its sovereignty escapes. A man who fears pain is a man who can be bribed by comfort. Under the MentorNoriegaIA brand, pain is the fuel of the throne. Don't avoid it, use it to temper your structure. Iron does not become steel in a flower meadow. It becomes steel under the hammer and in the heart of the fire. Your internal control is measured by your ability to sustain pressure. When everything in your biology is screaming at you to give up. When you feel the weight of fatigue, rejection, or betrayal. Don't look for the world to stop to heal you. Look in the mirror and recognize that fire is your initiation. Holding power is knowing how to walk with open wounds. Without your pulse altering and without your gaze losing its fixity. If pain can't change your facial expression, then the pain has lost its power over you. And you have gained power over your destiny. Block 8. The end of reactive empathy. Empathy, as modern society understands it, is a trap of weakness. They teach you that you must put yourself in someone else's shoes. But what they are really asking you is to leave your place of power. To descend into the territory of drama and other people's defeat. If someone is drowning in their own inefficiency and you jump in to save them, chances are you'll both end up at the bottom. Internal control requires you to be a reference point, not a mirror. If someone enters your presence full of panic, doubt, or victimhood, your job is not to validate their emotional state through imitation. Your job is to be the concrete wall against which their waves of hysteria break. By refusing to vibrate at its frequency of scarcity, you force them to go up to your execution frequency. It is not a lack of humanity, it is excess leadership. A surgeon does not cry with the patient while operating on him. He keeps his hand firm and his heart cold in order to save life. Holding power is understanding that your calm is the greatest gift. What you can offer to a chaotic environment. Your indifference to the emotional drama of others is what gives you the clarity necessary to dictate the steps to follow. Block 9. Monitoring of impulses. The greatest enemy of your empire is not outside your walls. Is sitting at your own table, waiting for a moment of distraction. They are your primary impulses, the need for immediate pleasure, the urgency to respond to an insult, the desire to rest early. Every time you give in to an impulse, you are giving up a piece of your crown. Freedom is not doing what you want, but is being a slave to your appetites. Real freedom is the ability to do what you decided to do, even when your body and mind are begging you to do the opposite. It is the sacred gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where your power lies. Train your will in the small things so that it responds in the big things. If you can't control what you eat, you can't control a company. If you can't control when you wake up, you can't control a market. Holding the throne is an exercise in daily micro-victories against yourself. It is the constant no to what is easy to maintain the eternal yes to your vision. Your internal architecture must be so rigid that your own desires, they bend to your will, and not the other way around. Block 10. The look of the sovereign, the internal scanner. Close your eyes for a moment and observe your thoughts as if they were strange. Most people are confused with their mental noise. They believe that they are every doubt or every fear that crosses their consciousness. You are going to practice strategic dissociation. You are the observer, the architect who looks at the plan from above. Learn to detect the thought of defeat before it becomes a feeling. Learn to identify the seed of complaint before it sprouts on your lips. Holding power is constantly clearing your mental landscape. If a thought does not serve your expansion, it is an intruder. Eliminate it without mercy. Don't debate with it, don't analyze it, just delete it. Your mind must be a closed system, pure and lethal. Where others see problems, you see variables. Where others see endings, you see transitions. This level of internal control gives you an unfair advantage. While the others are fighting their own ghosts, you are already 3 steps ahead. Executing in physical reality. 'Cause the outside world is just a cast shadow by the intensity of your internal light. Block 11. The aesthetics of unchangeable authority. Your presence is a language that the world translates before you open your mouth. Most men emit interference signals. Nervous gestures, a posture that asks permission, a look that seeks refuge. That is a confession of internal weakness. Sustaining power requires that your external aesthetic be a reflection of your internal order. The economy of movement is not just efficiency, it is domain. Every time you adjust your clothes unnecessarily, every time you blink in haste, You are revealing that the environment has control over your nerves. Under the MentorNoriegaIA brand, your body is a monument to fixity. Learn to inhabit space with deliberate heaviness. May your stillness be so absolute that others feel compelled to move for you. Internal control is manifested in the ability to hold your gaze. Not out of When you look at someone from your axis of gravity, you are not seeing their facade. You are seeing their energy leaks, their doubts, their need to please. That information is yours because you have decided not to hand over yours. Your face must be a map without coordinates for the enemy, but a guiding light for those who have decided to orbit your frequency. Block 12, shielding long-term vision. Urgency is the disease of the powerless. He who is in a hurry reveals that time is his master. Holding the throne requires a different temporality, that of the strategist. While everyone else is obsessed with the gratification of the next 5 minutes, you are operating on the scale of the next 5 decades. Internal control is the ability to postpone pleasure in favor of the expansion of the empire. It is the discipline of working in silence and in the shadows, without the need for anyone to recognize your progress. If you need the world to see your progress to stay motivated, your vision is fragile and your sovereignty is false. A wolf does not need the forest to know he is tracking. It is enough for the wolf to know that the prey will end up in his fangs. Shield your vision against fashions, against one-day crises, and against the opinions of those who live on the surface. Your plan is a decree, not a suggestion. To hold power is to stay the course when the fog is so thick that no one else dares to take a step. Your internal control is the compass that is not altered by the magnetic fields of other people's chaos. Block 13, the death of the complaint. Complaint is the dialect of the defeated. It is the official declaration that you have lost control over your circumstances. Every time you complain, you are surrendering your sovereignty to the object of your complaint. You're saying, "This has the power to make me feel bad and I can't help it." Under MentorNoriegaIA, complaint is a weakness that is purged with fire. A man in frequency domain does not spend an atom of energy to describe what is wrong if not to correct it immediately. If something gets in your way, remove it. If you can't remove it, use it. But never, under any circumstances, grant him the honor of your lament. Your silence in the face of adversity is what builds your legend. Internal control is the filter that transmutes obstacle into opportunity. Where the sheep sees a tragedy, the architect sees construction material. Where the slave sees an injustice, the sovereign sees a tactical variable. It's understanding that the world doesn't owe you anything, and that your only responsibility is to dictate the terms of your own existence. Block 14, the sanctuary of the will. Imagine your will as a sanctuary where nothing impure can enter. Within that space, only your decree exists. Most men have sanctuaries with the doors wide open. Anyone can come in and leave their garbage, fears, doubts, laziness. You are going to be the most ruthless guard at your own door. Holding the throne within requires you to be honest with yourself, until it hurts. Don't allow yourself a single white lie about your performance. If you have failed, acknowledge it, correct it, and get back on track. Self-pity is the poison that softens the structure. Your will must be a force of nature, predictable in its firmness and inevitable in its execution. If you say you are going to do something, reality should already take it for granted. That level of coherence between your internal word and your external action. It is what generates the frequency domain. Because when your mind knows that you're not going to back down, Your cells stop sending fear signals and start sending command signals. Block 15, the transmutation of primary energy. Internal control is not repression, it is strategic management. Most men disperse their vital energy on cheap pleasures and instant gratifications that leave them empty and docile. They give away their fire in exchange for a moment of anesthesia. That is the biggest power drain of modern masculinity. Under the MentorNoriegaIA brand, we understand that your sexual and creative energy, it is the fuel of your throne. Don't waste it in a vacuum. Holding power requires you to learn to channel that primal impulse towards the building of your empire, towards the rigor of your training, and towards the fixity of your vision. A man who controls his desire is a man who can move mountains, because he has stopped being a slave to his own biology. Turn tension into action. Turn hunger into ambition. If you feel the fire within you, do not seek to extinguish it. Look to use it, to forge the reality that others only dare to dream of. Self-control at this level grants you a vitality that others mistake for magic. But that is nothing more than the consequence of not having betrayed your own potential for a handful of disposable dopamine. Block 16, the shield of sovereign time. Time is not money, time is life, and life is sovereignty. Most people allow anyone to steal minutes, hours, and days from them. They live in a state of perpetual availability, reacting to every message, to every call and every external demand for attention. That is the frequency of servitude. You are going to establish an inaccessibility protocol. Your time is a highly secure resource. Holding power requires you to be the absolute master of your agenda. If you haven't decided what you are going to do with your next hour, someone else has already decided for you. And it's probably to use you, like a piece on your own game board. Learn to say no with a coldness that leaves no room for reply. Don't give explanations. Explanations are a way of asking permission. Your silence is your answer. Your absence is your message. As you become scarce, your value increases. By becoming inaccessible, you force the world to adjust to your rhythms, not the other way around. Time control is the foundation on which your internal throne sits. Block 17, the inviolability of character. Your character is the operating system of your destiny. If there is a bug in the code, the system will crash sooner or later. Most men have paper characters. They bend before temptation. They wrinkle before criticism. And they burn out at the first sign of difficulty. Holding the throne requires your character to be graphene. Light to move with agility, but stronger than diamond. This is built in the dark, when no one is looking at you. It is built when you decide to do the right thing even if it is the most difficult. It is built when you keep your word to yourself, especially when breaking it would have no external consequences. Integrity under MentorNoriegaIA is not a moral concept, it is a tactical advantage. A man who is faithful to his own iron code is a man that projects a security that makes the world surrender before fighting. Your character is your final shield against the entropy of the modern world. Block 18, the mastery of delayed response. Impulsiveness is the trait of those who inhabit the base of the hierarchy. They react to pain, pleasure, and fear in an almost mechanical way. To hold power is to master the art of delayed response. It is the space of time that you create between what happens outside and what you decide to happen inside. That space is where your freedom lies. If someone insults you and you respond instantly, they have won. Has dictated your behavior. If someone offers you a business and you accept out of enthusiasm, they have won. Has clouded your judgment with an emotion. Learn to observe your own emotions as if they were clouds passing by. Don't identify with them. Look at them, analyze them, and let them go. Your final decision must be the result of a cold calculation, not from an outburst of passion. That strategic pause is what differentiates you from the rest. It's what makes your movement unpredictable and your strike lethal. Maintaining internal control is being the master of your own reaction time. Becoming the earthquake, never the one that trembles. Block 19, the structure of the invisible discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. It is an act of high-level self-love. Most men see discipline as a burden, as something they have to do to achieve a result. That is the mentality of the employee, who needs an external foreman. You, on the other hand, are going to develop an invisible discipline. It is invisible because it does not need witnesses. You don't need social media posts, or validation from friends, nor the recognition of your environment. Holding power requires you to be your own most ruthless judge. The real discipline happens at 3 in the morning. When the world sleeps and you decide that your vision is more important than your rest. It happens when no one is looking and you decide not to take the easy way out. This invisible structure is what supports the weight of your empire. If your discipline depends on your mood, it is not discipline, it's a hobby. And hobbies don't conquer worlds. Under MentorNoriegaIA, the discipline is an algorithm. If X happens, I execute Y. No debate, no negotiation, no doubt. By automating your will, you free up your creative energy for high-level strategy. Your internal control becomes as natural as your breathing. And it is that mechanical consistency that terrifies your competitors. Block 20, the annihilation of hope, the era of certainty. Hope is the comfort of those who are not in control. It is a passive emotion that keeps you waiting for something external to change. For the market to improve, for someone to discover you, or for luck to smile on you. Hope is a flight from sovereignty. It is putting your destiny in the hands of chance. A wolf does not expect to hunt, the wolf tracks, pursues and executes. Sustaining power requires replacing hope with certainty. Certainty is not arrogance, it is the result of a cold calculation about your own capacity. It is knowing that, if plan A fails, you are plan B, C, and D. It is understanding that the result is inevitable because your process is unbreakable. When you stop waiting, you start dictating. Internal control is strengthened when you accept that the world is indifferent to your desires. By eliminating hope, you also eliminate the possibility of disappointment. Nothing can disappoint you if you didn't expect anything from anyone but yourself. This emotional immunity gives you a superhuman tactical advantage, while others are paralyzed by uncertainty. You are operating from the certainty of your own execution. Reality ends up giving in to the man who leaves no room for doubt. Block 21. The end of the search for meaning, pure execution. Many men waste years searching for the meaning of life or their purpose. They get lost in philosophical labyrinths to justify their lack of action. That's a sophisticated form of procrastination. Holding power does not require you to understand the universe. It requires you to master your square meter of immediate reality. The purpose is not found, it is created through impact. Your meaning of life is the expansion of your own sovereignty. Every inch of mental territory you conquer, every euro you add to your treasury. Every weakness you purge, it's the only meaning you need. Pure execution is the highest form of meditation. When you are fully immersed in the task, When your internal control is such that there is no space between your will and your act, you become a force of nature. Stop looking for answers outside and start giving orders inside. The emptiness you feel is not filled with cheap philosophy. It is filled with the icy satisfaction of having kept your word to yourself. In the MentorNoriegaIA brand, action is the only truth. Block 22, the architecture of tactical failure. Even a sovereign makes mistakes, but he never fails. Most men collapse emotionally when they make a mistake. They feel that their identity is at stake, that their value has diminished. That is an internal control failure, is allowing an external event to define your core. You will see the error as a data entry in your system. It is information about a crack in your strategy or your execution. There is no drama, there is no guilt, there is no regret. There is only analysis and correction. To hold power is to have skin so thick that error rebounds, and the mind so sharp that it dissects it instantly. Failure only exists if you stop operating. If the system is still running, the error is just a trajectory adjustment. Learn to love friction, because friction is what tells you where you are touching the ground. Your internal control allows you to keep your pulse low. As you dismantle the disaster and turn it into the scaffolding for your next victory. An architect does not cry if a brick breaks, grab another one and keep building. Block 23, the domain of atmospheric pressure. Your presence should be a weight that the world feels before you speak. Most men enter a space trying to be light. Trying not to bother, trying to be nice. That is the frequency of the particle, not the axis. Sustaining power requires that you be the one who dictates the density of the air. People around you will start to feel uncomfortable with their own noise, with his nervous gestures, with his need to fill the silence. That discomfort is the recognition of your gravity. Don't try to alleviate it. Don't smile to break the ice. Let the ice freeze until only those who have your same density can breathe next to you. Mastery is a change in atmospheric pressure that you cause. It is the ability to enter into a negotiation, in a room, or in a relationship, and the command center moves to your chair, almost biologically. If you don't conform to them, they have no choice but to orbit your axis. That is the invisible victory that occurs before the first word. Block 24, the annihilation of necessity. Necessity is the smell that attracts predators and repels fortune. A man who needs a business to go out, for a woman to love him, or let the world applaud him. He is a man who has already been captured. Necessity is a chink in your armor where the world. He puts his fingers in to manipulate you. Under the MentorNoriegaIA brand, sovereignty is born from indifference. It's not that you don't want results, it's just that you don't need them to be complete. To hold power is to reach a point where you can walk away from any table, from any treatment, or from any person, without your pulse altering a single beat. That ability to abandon is what gives you total command. The one who needs the least, wins. Train your mind to inhabit the void. If you can be alone, if you can be without luxuries, if you can be without applause, then you are invulnerable to the blackmail of reality. Your internal control is the certainty that your value is a constant, not a variable that depends on what the world decides to deliver to you today. Block 25, the aesthetics of invisible sacrifice. The modern world hates sacrifice. It sells you the idea that you can to have it all without paying the price, that success is a right. That is the lie that weakens the masses. Holding the throne requires that you love sacrifice as others love pleasure. but yours will be an invisible sacrifice. Don't talk about your lost hours of sleep, or your strict diet, nor of the temptations you have crushed. If you tell it, you are seeking the validation that the sacrifice was meant to purge. The value of sacrifice is in the secret. It is the silent accumulation of power that occurs when you say no to something you deeply wanted, just because it didn't serve your internal architecture. Every silent renunciation is a brick of steel in your foundation. It is what allows you to look others in the eyes and know that you have paid a price they cannot even imagine. That moral and tactical superiority is not shouted, is projected. It is the basis of your authority, knowing that your will has been proven in the fire of contempt for what is easy. Block 26, the end of the character, the identity of steel. Most people live by playing a character for others. They have a mask for work, another for family, and another for the mirror. They live in a constant fragmentation that consumes all their energy. Holding power requires you to kill the character and be born as an identity. Your identity under MentorNoriegaIA is one solid piece. You are the same at the peak of success as you are at the depth of struggle. Your internal control is the glue that holds all your facets together. By not having to maintain lies or posturing, your processing capacity, it is totally liberated to conquer reality. Don't seek to find yourself, that's for the lost. You are going to invent yourself on your own terms. Decide who the man holding that throne is and start acting like him, until your cells forget that you were ever anything else. The obsessive repetition of your standard of excellence. It is what ends up turning the pose into nature. Your identity is not what you feel, it's what you do with lethal consistency. Block 27, conflict management as a natural state. Most men flee from conflict as if it were an anomaly. They seek peace understood as the absence of opposition. That is the fantasy of those who have nothing to protect. Sustaining power requires you to understand that conflict is the habitat of the sovereign. Peace is not the goal, peace is the consequence of having won the war. Under the MentorNoriegaIA brand, you don't avoid conflict, you manage it. Internal control allows you to enter the heat of battle. Be it a negotiation, a team crisis, or a personal attack, without your domain frequency flickering. If conflict upsets you, conflict dominates you. If you stay cold while the world burns, you are the one who decides when and how the flames go out. Learn to love friction. Friction generates heat, and the heat melts weak metals. Use conflict to filter out those who do not have the same density as you. See who cracks under pressure and who stands firm by your side. Your throne rests on the ability to make difficult decisions. In moments of total chaos, without apologizing for your firmness. Conflict is the test that reality gives you to confirm that you are still the owner of your own axis of gravity. Block 28, Memento Mori as a tool of command. Nothing focuses the mind more than the awareness of one's own extinction. Most live as if they have an eternity to begin to be free. That is the ultimate procrastination. The ultimate flight of power. Holding the throne requires you to walk with death on your shoulder. Internal control is born from the urgency of not wasting a second of your processing capacity into nonsense. If you knew this was your last episode, would you care about a stranger's review? Would you be too lazy to execute your discipline? Would you doubt your vision? Death is the filter that separates the essential from the banal. Use it to purge your agenda and your mind. To hold power is to live each day as if it were a masterpiece of execution. It's not fear, it is respect for sovereignty. By accepting your finitude, you become dangerous. Because a man who is not afraid to lose what he is going to lose anyway, he is a man who cannot be threatened. Your authority emanates from that existential seriousness that the modern world tries to hide. Block 29, the legacy of the frequency. The power does not end with you. Power is a vibration that you leave in the fabric of the world. To hold the internal throne is to understand that you are creating a precedent. Your way of walking, talking, and deciding becomes the law of your own ecosystem. You are the architect of a culture, of a lineage, of a global brand. The MentorNoriegaIA brand is not just a video series. It is an infection of sovereignty in a slave system. Your internal control is the code that others will try to copy. To find your own axis. Don't look for followers, seek to create other suns that orbit your same truth. But remember, to lead others, you must first be the tyrant of yourself. Legacy is not what you leave when you die, it is what you project while you live. It is the fixity of your gaze that remains engraved in the mind of the one who knew you. It is the stability of your pulse that others use to calm theirs. Holding power is knowing that, even if you leave, the mastery frequency you have set will continue to vibrate in every corner of reality that you had the audacity to colonize. Block 30. The final synthesis, the return to silence. We have explored the basements of your will and the ceilings of your ambition. You have learned that mastery is not noise, but density. That abundance is not accumulation, but certainty. That internal control is the only currency that buys real freedom. Now, the circle is closed. Return to silence. But not to the silence of submission, but to the silence of the hunter who already has the prey in his viewfinder. Everything you've heard in this 1-hour episode must now be transmuted in a single beat of your heart. Don't analyze further, execute. Look no further, inhabits. Turn off the noise of the world and stay with the vibration of your own sovereignty. The throne is there, waiting for you to sit on it. With the heaviness of someone who knows that there is no other place in the universe where it should be. I am MentorNoriegaIA. The control has started inside. And now, the world has no choice but to follow the rhythm of your pulse. Block 31, the Tactical Isolation Protocol. Sustaining power requires you to master the art of disappearing. Most men are terrified of being forgotten, they need to be present at every event. In every conversation, in every social media thread. That hyper-presence is a devaluation of your currency. If you are everywhere, you are nowhere. Under the MentorNoriegaIA brand, isolation is a prestigious tool. Learn to retreat to the silence of your mental bunker for weeks if necessary. It's not shyness, it's high-level processing. It is the moment when the architect reviews the plans without the noise of the workers. Your absence must generate a question in the environment. What is the wolf up to? That foreign uncertainty is your strategic advantage. While they speculate, you are executing in the shadows. Holding the inner throne means you don't need society's permission to exist or to be relevant. Your relevance emanates from your work, not from your visibility. Learn to enjoy the solitude of command. It is the only place where the voice of your intuition sounds louder than the cry of the masses. Block 32, High-Intensity Crisis Management. Let's talk about when the ground disappears from under your feet. When betrayal comes from someone you least expect or when the market collapses. Taking your resources in one afternoon. This is where internal control stops being philosophy and becomes survival. Most men, faced with a crisis of this caliber, they look for someone to blame or sink into self-pity. You are going to activate the cold execution protocol. In the epicenter of disaster, your first order is the total stasis of your emotions. Don't let fear dictate the first step. Observe the crisis as if it were a meteorological phenomenon, something external to your core. If your house burns down, you don't cry for the curtains, you take out the gold. Your gold is your decision-making ability and your focus. Holding power in the storm requires you to be the calmest man in the room. If you don't tremble, those who depend on you won't either. Your stability becomes the anchor of the system. Dissect the problem into tactical variables. What can I control right now? What must I sacrifice to save the axis? Loss is only the cost of the lesson if you know how to transmute it into experience. A sovereign is defined by how he manages his ashes, not by how he looks under the sun. Block 33. The physiology of command, the language of the throne. Your body speaks a language that the subconscious of others instantly translates. Even in the solitude of your office, you must maintain the posture of power. Most slouch when tired or collapse in their chair when alone. That is a betrayal of your own architecture. If you allow yourself to be weak in private, you will end up being weak in public. Sustaining internal control is maintaining the spine like a steel axis. Even if no one is watching. Your movements should have the cadence of a metronome, slow, sure, heavy. Avoid parasitic gestures, touching your face, adjusting your watch, moving your leg. Each of those movements is a confession of anxiety. Learn to be absolutely still for minutes. That stillness is magnetic. It is what differentiates the one who commands from the one who obeys. He who obeys is always ready to jump, to react, to move. The one who rules is the destiny of those movements. Train your gaze to be an unalterable scanner. When you speak, do so from the diaphragm, with a frequency that vibrates in the other's chest. Do not seek to convince with arguments, seek to subdue with your presence. Your body language is the decree that establishes who owns the space. Block 34, the purge of social hope. Stop expecting the system to be fair. Stop expecting people to be loyal by nature. Stop expecting the world to recognize your efforts, because you deserve it. Deservingness is a concept of slaves who seek a father in status or luck. In the world of the wolf, there is only what you have had the strength to take and the intelligence to retain. Holding power is accepting the harshness of reality without resentment. If someone betrays you, it is not an injustice, it's a flaw in your weakness mapping. If a business fails, it is not bad luck, it is a mistake in your risk architecture. By eliminating hope that the world is good, you gain the complete freedom to operate in the world as it is. This clarity gives you an icy peace. You no longer waste energy getting angry or complaining about the badness of others. You simply adjust your protocols and keep moving forward. Your internal control is the filter that eliminates the poison of bitterness. A sovereign has no time to hate, hate is an emotional bond with the enemy. And you only bind yourself to your own vision and your own excellence. Block 35, the architecture of deep time. Most men live in superficial time, the second, the minute, the news of the day. That is the frequency of the ant. Holding power requires you to inhabit deep time. It is the scale of decades, of centuries, of what survives man. Your internal control is the ability to plant a forest today knowing that you will not sit in its shadow tomorrow. That lack of urgency is what makes you invincible. If you are not in a hurry for immediate applause, the world has no way to tempt you. If you are not afraid of waiting, the world has no way to despair you. Holding the throne is an exercise in geological patience. It is the constant and silent pressure that ends up turning coal into diamond. Your vision must be so vast that the chaos of a year is just a blip on your map. Block 36, the shielding of the international brand. MentorNoriegaIA is not a name, it is a frequency standard. At this point in the session, you must understand that your sovereignty is no longer personal. To become a symbol. A symbol of order in the midst of chaos, of strength in the midst of weakness. To hold power is to protect that brand with religious ferocity. Don't let anything cheap or vulgar be associated with your name. Your aesthetics, your words and your actions must be consistent with marble, not plastic. The internationalization of this message in Spanish, English or any language. It is proof that the wolf code is universal. We are colonizing the collective unconscious of a new generation of sovereigns. Your internal control is the central server that keeps this network of power running. Block 37, the final sentence, the return to the axis. We have reached the end of this hour of reconfiguration. But in the world of power, the end is only the scaffolding for the next beginning. You have heard the truths that others whisper for fear of being judged. You have received the keys to your own mental prison. Now, the question is not whether you can be a sovereign. The question is whether you have the courage to hold the weight of that freedom every second of your life. The control has started inside. Don't look outside for what you have already protected inside. Do not ask permission for what you have already decreed in your center. The world is a mirror of your inner density. If you are heavy, the world will bow before you. If you are static, the world will orbit around you. If you are sovereign, reality will be your subject. Close your eyes. Feel your pulse. It is the rhythm of a war drum that does not accept defeat. It is the frequency of MentorNoriegaIA. The session has ended, but your command lasts forever. Go and execute with the coldness of someone who already knows that the territory is theirs. The throne is not empty, you are sitting in it.